need some direction. Every time the wind blows, everything you don't know turns into a revelation. It all ends up inside your head. Time is wasted. Set it off not to live. Set it off not to live. Alright, set it off not to live. Set it off now to live.
It was supposed to be another night on tour, another city, another crowd, another encore. But within hours of this final performance in Detroit, Chris Cornell, one of rock's most distinctive voices, will be found dead in his hotel room. The official narrative was immediate: suicide, a sudden moment of despair brought on by too much Ativan, a tragedy of addiction wrapped in falsehoods and public sympathy. And this narrative came not from the authorities, but from his widow and industry handler, Vicky Karayiannis.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
Chris Cornell was the dynamic frontman for Soundgarden. Their most iconic song, Black Hole Sun, was written by him in just 15 minutes.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
In Cornell's over 20-year career, he lent his talent to many bands, captivating fans with his near 4-octave range and audio slaves like a stone.
Like a stone. That's the spirit.
But on May 17th of last year, Chris Cornell would take the stage at the Detroit Fox Theater for the last time. Just a few hours later, he would be found dead. The cause? Asphyxiation, an apparent suicide. In his system were 7 different drugs, which his wife Vicky believes contributed to him taking his own life.
I don't think that he could make any decisions because of the level of impairment.
And while medical examiners say it was suicide, Vicky blames the cocktail of drugs interacting badly that made him take his life, something she believes he would have never done sober.
He loved his life. He would never have ever left this world.
Chris Cornell was severely impaired, and with the medications that were in his system that night, he did not have the mental capacity to decide to leave this world on his own.
Now Vicky has made it her mission to prevent this from happening to other families. Vicky teamed up with addiction advocate Jessica Hulsey-Nickel to launch the Addiction Resource Center.
Addiction impacts your brain. It's a brain disorder. It is an illness, and that the illness can change behaviors and priorities.
Tell us a little bit more about the type of father and husband he was.
I mean, the kids were his everything. Our family was his everything. As soon as he got off stage, he was a dad. He was a regular dad.
But the father of 3 was also battling private demons. For years, he had struggled with drug and alcohol addiction. Vicky says he sought treatment, and by 2003, he was sober, but that wouldn't last.
Approximately a year before he died, he was prescribed a benzodiazepine to help him sleep. And it was because he had torn his shoulder. The pain in the shoulder was waking him up at night, and it was keeping him up.
By February 2017, Vicky says Chris began acting differently, which she attributed to his prescription medication.
I just remember seeing him, and I said, you know, you're walking like my grandfather. And he said to me, oh, you know what, I'll just stop taking it. I said, okay, and he didn't. In retrospect, I've learned that it's not supposed to be given to anybody who's in recovery. And if you have to give it, they have to be closely monitored, and it should not be given for more than 2 to 3 weeks. So in a 7-day period, he took 20-something pills, and in a 9-day period, 33. So he relapsed.
Though she didn't know it at the time, Chris had reached out to a colleague for help, writing in an email, "Would love to talk," had relapse. But less than 2 months later, Chris's struggle would hit its peak in Detroit.
He was off pitch. He forgot words. First thing he said to me when he called me that night was the ringing in my ears. I couldn't stop the ringing. He was slurring his speech a lot.
So at that point, you were thinking, you've got to get him help.
Yes. And I'm like, Chris, please tell me what you took. If you tell me, I forgive you, and I'm going to come be with you tomorrow. I called the security guard, and I said to him, you need to go to his room. The door will be bolted, and don't wait, just break it. And in the meantime, I was calling for help from the hotel as well. And I said, please call an ambulance, please send help. And then that was it.
Chris had killed himself.
My children woke up, and that was probably the most tragic thing you could ever go through.
The events of that night still weigh heavily on Vicky.
People say, can't blame yourself, and I'm trying not to. But there were signs.
You can't blame yourself, Vicky. You relapse after cancer. I had a relapse and nobody questioned it. Why is it when you have an addiction, which is an illness, why is it any different? It's not.
People don't recognize it as a disease. And I feel guilty of the same thing.
What is your message about addiction to help people better understand?
I think that there's so much stigma around addiction, and I think it's time that we get away from that. And my husband was the furthest thing from a rock star junkie. He just wasn't. He was the best husband, the greatest father. I lost my soulmate and the love of my life.
That sounded compassionate enough despite the fake tears. Addiction as disease, relapse as a tragedy. But to many who knew Chris, and to experts in pharmacology, it sounded like something else, a script. Vicky's insistence that her husband had relapsed in the period before his death and that substances impaired his judgment seemed to overshadow her alleged grief. Across interviews and multiple social media posts, Vicky stressed Chris's past recovery and vulnerability to relapse, the impact she believed prescribed medications had on his impulse control that night, and the need to reduce stigma around addiction and to treat it as a medical issue. All that sounds nice and well-intentioned on paper, but it's just untrue. Ativan can cause sedation or confusion, but not suicidal strangulation. What's strange is how quickly everyone in the industry started pushing the idea that this was a relapse story. That's not medicine, that's a narrative. The Wayne County medical examiner confirmed that while several drugs were present in his system, none were at lethal levels. None could explain what happened in that hotel bathroom.
And we continue to follow the death of grunge rocker Chris Cornell. His wife now revealing Ativan may have played a role.
We want to bring in our chief health editor, Dr. Parthanendi, right now to talk about the possible dangers of this drug, Ativan.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, my condolences to the Cornell family and all of his fans, including me. He certainly will be missed. Ativan is a prescription drug. You may also be familiar with the generic name called lorazepam. This sedative medication can be used to treat anxiety, drug withdrawal, sleep disturbances, and seizure disorders. So, pretty important drug for a lot of different people.
Yeah, fan myself. This is sad news, Doc. Tell us how it affects the brain.
Absolutely. So Ativan is a central nervous system depressant, Glenda, that produces a calming effect. It acts on your brain and nerves and enhances a neurotransmitter called GABA, a natural chemical in your body which lowers tension and anxiety. When used under the direction of a doctor, it's generally safe.
What happens, though, if you take too much of it?
Absolutely, Stephen. So there are many symptoms if you overdose or if you take too much of Ativan. Slurred speech, nightmares, loss of strength or energy, shakiness, trouble walking, and suicidal thoughts are unlikely, but the warning section of this drug indicates you should tell your doctor right away if you have mental or mood changes like hallucinations, depression, or thoughts of suicide.
Despite this, the addiction narrative stuck. It was reinforced by public statements, by legal actions against doctors, and by a media machine eager for a viral story. But those close to Chris, bandmates, crew, and fans, saw something that didn't add up. All part of a wicked narrative that disloyal industry puppets parroted around, all the while trying to silence any attempt at questioning what really happened.
Chris Cornell, him and his wife had a foundation. Him and Chester were best friends. The conspiracy theory, I don't know if it's true, but they found out some shit. They found out some shit.
Let's be respectful.
No,
like we don't know.
I don't know. I'm not naming any names. But you got to look into it.
Okay, but this guy just died, man. I just don't think this is shit to speculate on.
That's why you should speculate it when you find out the connection and the way they died. They made it. Chris Cornell had 9 broken ribs and a gash in the back of his head when he hung him. Yes. And they said the official story is from the CPR. The CPR, he was already dead when they got there, and they break 9 ribs doing CPR, and there's a gash behind his head.
The gash behind his head when they cut him loose and he bangs his head off the ground?
And he's hanging off like one of those exercise rubber bands. So you think
someone killed him?
When you look at the evidence, you're like, holy shit, he looked like he was murdered. And then Chester, right before, Chester dies the same way. The exact same way.
Dude, let's not do this, man.
No.
I don't want to even do this. I don't even want to do this.
Okay, all right. Okay. I'm just looking into it because I love Chester. I love Chester. I love Lincoln Park. Who got you into Lincoln Park? I got you into Lincoln Park.
I understand. I don't want to talk about conspiracy theories involved in this guy's death, especially when he just died. It just seems so disrespectful.
No, he's one of my favorite singers of all time.
I understand, but if he really did just kill himself, like, it seems so disrespectful to speculate that he was murdered because of some conspiracy theory. I don't know what the case is, but I don't even want to talk about it.
All right.
But do you know what I'm saying?
You know what? I said enough. I don't need to say no more. I don't want to get into trouble, but I'm just...
Okay.
I'm not trying to put anybody in jail. I love Lincoln Park. I love Chester. I love Chris Cornell. Are you kidding?
I understand
Soundgarden?
I understand.
So I want to know.
I just feel like you should really know what the fuck you're talking about when you talk about people.
We were just talking about suicides. We were just talking about how people get suicided. We were just talking about the Haiti thing.
That's what that is,
when you look at what they were into that. They were into fighting that.
Okay.
And when you look at exactly how.
Also severely depressed. There was also a lot of psychological shit going on.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know why people kill themselves, period. You know? I don't know why.
But wouldn't you want to know if there was some serious, there was some fishy shit?
Maybe I'll look into it.
There's some fishy shit.
Talk about it until whatever the fuck reality has been.
That's not that. We were talking about trillions being missing. We're talking about all these crazy suicides. We're talking about all that. And then this is insane. This goes right with whatever we're talking about. This is when you should bring it up. Okay. Not later when everyone forgets about it.
I don't know any facts.
Yeah.
So when you're bringing it up like this, it sounds crazy.
Okay. All right. I get it. He was probably he probably did it himself.
He could have very well easily have done it himself. And the whole thing is just connecting him to some conspiracy without like a deep
because
understanding.
I care about him. Because I care about him.
Without a deep understanding of the actual facts.
I care about him. You don't know how much. You don't know how much.
I believe
you don't know how deep my understanding is.
I believe you,
dude. You don't know how deep my understanding is. You have no idea.
I would assume that you weren't there when it happened.
No, but I've looked into it.
Well, I'd assume you don't know who was trying to kill him. I assume you weren't there. I'd assume that you don't know it as a fact.
I would assume you would trust me that I looked into it, and you would.
I'm sure you have, man. I'm sure you have.